Okay, this is how to find 4-leaf, and even 5-leaf, 6-leaf clover. Just all of them you can find. Now it's a little bit late in the season here right now. And I apologize for the wind. Okay, now it's best to wait till when the clovers have more than one on them. So you can see these are almost gone because these are red at the top, but see they have more than one on them, and you have better odds of finding them when these are just 3 leaves, but you have better odds of finding them when you wait till there's on them. But if you don't, there will be a big bud right here in the middle with that flower in it. But I have got them then. You can get single ones, but if you're around them, hunting them, go ahead. There's so many of those filled, but you can't really see them right now because that's good because they're not ready anymore and they're starting to go. But I thought I'd make this video and let's just get into it. I found one 4-leaf so far in this hunt. Not sure if it's focusing very good on it, but if you have a field that has this many in there, then there's bound to be a lot in there because I've probably found at least 100 over here well, not today, but over the last month or so. Okay, but first thing you want to do is bring you a little vase of water to put them in as you find them, because you can't always find them really quick, but when you do, make sure you look down the stem and I've already pulled the other ones off here because there were 3s, but make sure you look on the whole stem because they are hereditary. So chances are if you found one, there could be another one on the stem or in the whole area around where you found it. That does happen. I can pretty much vouch for that. And I apologize for the wind, but what you want to look for is weird shaped leaves, lots of leaves, different patterns. If they're sticking out weird, because they can be stacked, and 5 leaves are usually kind of stacked into each other a little bit. And if I don't find any in this video, you can check out my other videos and I'll show you some that I found. And just look for ones that the clovers aren't usually the same height as the grass, so usually easier to see at first. That one? No, I don't think it is. But look for like extra leaves, extra fluff. There will be some that will look like a 4-leaf, but it isn't, because I call them split leaves. Sometimes when the leaves split down the middle, they will look like a 4-leaf, but they're not. So don't get them confused. I just call them split leaves because that's pretty much what they are. But if you hold a bunch in your hand and you keep looking, then they will eventually start wilting. So that's why you carry your little vase and don't get too close to the leaves wet, because you are going to want to press them in a book. That way you can seal them and save them and keep your luck and everything and your fortune for later. I say fortune because 4 leaves are known for luck, 5 leaves are known for fortune. I'm not sure what 6, 7, and 8, whatever means, but I do have a couple 6 leaves and a 7 or 2. Can't remember. But look for extra leaves, bunched, they're bunched up, and just look for them. And I'm not sure if this is focusing good, but and then you gotta make sure that you get them in the vase before too long. If you're gonna carry them around, you can wait till you have a little bit to put in the vase. You don't necessarily have to have one with the hole that big in the top, because you may not find that many if you're not gonna be out there very long. But if you have a field with this many in there, you might want to bring a big one, because I've brought smaller ones and they all didn't fit, and I ended up putting them in my little water bottle, and yeah, the water bottle hasn't smelled the same since. But and make sure you look for them on the whole stem. But I have found one where the top one was a 3 and the middle one was a 4. You just gotta look, and okay, sometimes the bud pod will have little tiny leaves up here, and do they count as part of the clover? Well, I usually trim across. I'm not sure if it's focusing good. I usually trim across. I take this part out and trim across that part, and if you can see the bud in there, there we go. If you can see the top part of the bud there, if you can trim that part off at an angle through there, if you can trim that off and the leaves stay, then chances are it's part of it. Now, the leaves are not always the same size, and you got to remember that, because as you can see, this leaf is smaller than on the other side. And the 5 leaves, there is 3, usually 3 in the back and 2 in the front. And well, 1, then 2, and then in front of it, and then 2 in front of it. If I find one today, like in a bit, I can show you, but and if they stay on there, after you cut that off, if they're not attached to that little end right there, then they're part of it and you can count them. Now, the ones toward the front of the 5s are always a lot smaller than the one in the back, so don't expect them to be all the same size. You just gotta look for the leaves. Ooh, it's getting windy again. Let's see. Just get a look in there. Right now, the grass is getting kind of tall, so it's a little late in the year to be hunting right now in my time, but okay, when you put them in the vase, you don't really need a whole lot of water, but you might need enough to hold it in however tall it is if you set the vase down. Because if it falls over, then your water's gonna fall out. So, but I usually hold mine the whole time. Okay, I don't really like to go like straight down the middle when there's like a ton of them out, because there's so many around and it can be a little overwhelming, but that will be the way you can see them better. But if you sit down, look in a little spot, and then sit down and then kind of comb through them, you can find some easier that way. I don't know if that takes up more time or not. You have to keep moving along as you find them, but just keep looking till you find some. But I tend to go down kind of down the side and look in, and that does pretty good. Or if there's any lines, I kind of follow those to, and along the side, there's little patches. I like to go in those first, less time and to look through those, especially if I have less time to look. But clovers grow with how much sun warmth and how much water they get in rain. And I guess if they don't get the right amount, however much that is, I don't really know, then they may not grow as the extra ones as good. I don't know, but that's how they grow. Just keep looking. All these brown fluffs here is clovers. There are several kinds of clovers, and they are around here. And one of them is sour rock, and that's not exactly really a clover. But if you find a 4-leaf one, by all means grab it, because you never know. Okay, now if you're looking from an angle, you can see it's a little harder to see into things. But if you're standing next to it and looking over it, you tend to be able to see into it more. Now the grass around it is a little tall, so it's gonna be hard to see it. But when they come out and they get flowers and stuff, they're usually the tallest thing in the field at the time. So you gotta kind of look before the grass gets too tall. And here are some of the other kinds of clovers, little yellow poofs on them, and I don't think I've found a 4-leaf in those before. These could be clovers, I don't know. They have 3 leaves, but look for, like anything that looks suspicious, curious, whatever. If you see extra leaves, sometimes there's 2 leaning together and it may look like a 6-leaf or something, but it may not be. But it's always worth a look. If you see something that's got, a bunch of leaves, just look. It's always worth a look. You never know, and there might actually be a bunch there. And when you find them, you can pull it. You can, pull the stem and then take off the ones that's not 4s or 5s or whichever, and then put it in your vase. And then keep going. If you take a long time to look at them, then you're not going to find as many. So just put it in your vase and move on. Just keep looking. You can always look at them again later when you get back to your house or apartment or whatever. And then you can look through them before you put them in the book. And you can put them in the book and that will dry them out. You can't just seal them the way they are because they're not really flat and they're dry. They still have water in them and they'll steam up and they'll rot if you don't. So you gotta wait till the wait till you have them in a book for a week or two, and then don't wait till they're crunchy. That could be a weird deal. Okay, and as the flowers, as they get flowers on them, there will be one on it, and then as it gets taller, you know, the flower gets taller, and then the stem goes up, and then there's more clovers that grow out down the stems, and that's why there may or may not be more than one on a stem, depending when you look. Later, you know, later on in the well, after they grow some, then they'll have more on them. But they start out with, you know, just one, you know, by the bud, and then, you know, they get more on them. Okay, here's an example of the split leaf. It looks like a 4, but really that one is split in 2, so it's not. Really a 3. Here's one that's either a 5 or a 7. I don't know, there's two small ones down there in the middle. They look like they might be on the pod. As I said at some point in this video, it's on the pod. I mean, I could probably cut it where it would stay with it if it wasn't on the pod, but I think it just found a 7 leaf, maybe. Okay, I found a suspicious one over here. I see lots of leaves. Okay, yeah, there's a 5 leaf right here. See, if you see lots of leaves, then check it out. This thing doesn't want to focus, but you can tell there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves on here. There's 5. They just look for extra leaves. Okay, and the one lower on it is a 3 leaf, so I'm going to rip that one off. Make sure you keep enough in of the stem to put it in the vase without it getting close, because if you get water on it, you're going to have to let it sit in the vase a while so it can dry out. But, woohoo, I found a 5 leaf. And now I'm going to leave it more in this area, because if you find one there, chances are you might find another one. I'm not really seeing any right here. Oh, there's 2. It's always worth the look if you see one from far away, and pick it while you can, because if you look away and look back, there's so many there you probably lose it. So you might just pick it while you're looking at it, or at least hold your hand on it, or put a stick or something by it if you want to keep looking. And try not to step on them as much as you can, or looking at the ones in that area before you take a step there. If you've already looked there, then you might as well step there. No, just 3. But I've got 1, 4, 1, 5 so far today. As you can tell, they kind of stack up a little bit, so just look for really leafy things. If it looks like a lot of leaves, extra leaves, even if there's two side by side, you can look, you never know. Okay, this is what clover flowers will, this one's just a 3-leaf, but they usually look red like that. And then they get bigger and then they get that tall. And then they turn brown and and then, as flowers do. This one's just a 3, that one's a 3, but this is what they look like. They're red. And the whole field, you'll see a whole bunch of red there, and that's where you should go. You see a whole bunch of these in the field. Now, there's not going to be this many in every field, but if you can find some, check them out. You never know. You may prefer to, just go right up the middle of them all. And you can do that, whatever you want to do. I tend to stay, see there's like a cluster of them over in here. I tend to have some luck with those. And you're not going to find some in all of them, but sometimes it may take 20 minutes before you find one. But that one will tend to bring you a little luck and you can find some more, especially if you're in a big field. If you're in a field that doesn't have like 10 of them, you can look anyways. You never know. You're not always gonna find one if there's not many out there, but if there's this many out, I apologize for the wind. If there's this many out, then chances are there's probably a whole bunch out there. You just gotta find them. Okay, and bending over can help too, because see, if you're leaning into them, the closer your eyes are to them, the better you can see them, and then you can look. A lot of people's backs are not made for doing that. See little leaves. No, there's 2 together. I tried. And if it's hot, which it's probably about almost 90 degrees here, so it's pretty hot, bring you a bottle or recycle bottle and fill it with water and put it in your pocket if you got big enough pockets. I usually have a big enough pocket to put this small one in, and then you won't have to stop to get a drink or anything. But be careful not to get too hot, people. But I live in the humid South in the U.S., so it gets kind of hot. But this is a little later in the season. It's like in the middle of May, and it's ridiculous. I don't remember staying in the 90s for more than a week, for more than a day or two in May. Whew, it's hot out here. Now, I usually have enough length to put it in the vase, as I was saying, and you can break the bottom of it off if it's too tall, and you can break this part off. But right now, these are older and they're starting to grow, and they're really tough. So I'm gonna have to leave it on. But there is ways to do it, and I didn't bring any snips to cut them, but here's that 5-leaf again that I found a while ago. So but it's usually easy to break them off, and you can just break it off, but don't break through here. Break it up here. Now there's not always much stem there, because sometimes the flower is right here and it's a bud, and if you see it, just grab it, because it may not be there, or the bugs will eat it and chew on the leaves and stuff, and then you won't be able to get it later. You'll never find it again. So if you see one, grab it, even if there's a bud there, because you can slit it. You can slit it and take the bud out and just leave a little piece through there, but don't just grab the flower and yank it, because if it breaks this part off, then you'll have to hold it or put it in your pocket, which it may not survive, you know, or something like that, because you have to just leave it on if you can't break it off. Sorry about the wind. Not sure how it's sounding, but if you can't break it, just leave it. Maybe it won't be too heavy to fall over in the vase. If they're trying to fall out of the vase, you might need to shorten the stem and lower the water in the vase. That way it's not getting so close to it. But don't try to seal them when they're still like this, you know, they're not dried. You have to press them in a book first. That'll flatten them out, and then you can pin them in there. I used to use packaging tape, which was harder to do the bigger ones, but to seal them. But I have an laminator, and that's what I use now. And the ones from the last few years still seem, you know, good. But when I used packaging tape, like the clear tape, you know, I would seal them in. You have to do it carefully to get air bubbles. But I'd seal them in and then seal them in again, because especially the bigger ones where you have to do 2 rows because of tape, because it's not big enough to use a single layer. But I'm not sure if these are the best ways to do it. This is the way I do it. And the laminator I have does heat up, and they seem fine. And, you know, next year or whatever, they seem to still have green in them, but the green will fade to maybe a navy or army green or something eventually, either way. But it will keep the green longer if you have them dried out at the right amount. If you live where it's cold all the time, then chances are there's probably not going to be any clovers there, or maybe any flowers, but you can check it out. See, that one looked suspicious. That leaf wasn't centered. There could be, you know, some behind it, so check it out. You never know. Y'all seen anything I don't know. But happy hunting. And you can spot them, depending on how good your eyes are, I guess. You can spot them from a little ways away. And if you see them, try to avoid stepping on the ones in front of you, but don't look down. Keep your eye on the one that you see over there, and just make a beeline toward it and go and grab it, because if you take your eye off of it, you may never see it again. So keep your eyes on the prize, and, you know, and then go and get it. But there's a suspicious leafy looking one. Like a 5 leaf right there at least. Yeah, another 5 leaf. Just look for extra leafy looking things and then grab them. And that one's a 3. That one's probably too far gone to even try, even if it was before. And I just grab and pull the bottom ones off, but make sure you keep the good one on. And see, as I was saying, I don't know if it's focusing on this or not, but But anyways, the bigger one is usually, the back one's usually bigger than the front ones. They're not on the same size, so don't be looking for ones that's the same size. I mean, there is some kinds that is the same size, I guess. I don't know, but if you went to Google on the internet and just typed in 4-leaf clover or 5-leaf or whatever, I'm not sure which kind it would show, but there's other kinds of clovers, but this kind is the one I found the most in. I found one in the white puffball ones. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but there's ones that's like maybe about that big, and they're little, the round puff balls, and there is some white ones of these that will grow in with the red ones, but I'm talking about just the ones that's just white puff balls. I don't know if you know. If you know, you know, I guess what I'm talking about. But I have found one in those, but only one. And I was in middle school at the time, so literally at the middle school during lunch. Anyway, y'all have a happy hunting, and